Hey Buzzer, it's Audrey.
Hello, bitches. Welcome to the revised deep dive on Audrey Kitching. Every time I see a very specific shade of pink, I think of Audrey Kitching. Her impact on teen kids, both former and current, will literally live forever. She was the blueprint and truly was an icon. Okay, I just wanted to add an intro about how iconic Audrey Kitching was in 2007. Okay, let me just set the scene. It's 2007. If you're seen, you want to be Audrey Kitching. The only person who didn't want to be Audrey Kitching was Hannah Beth, and that was because she was Hannah Beth. She was the blueprint and truly was an icon, obviously inspiring the entire aesthetic of this channel. So shout out to Audrey. I literally wouldn't be yapping on this channel without you and the impact you had on my emo teenage heart. So now let's deep dive into how a girl from Philly somehow became an internet celebrity who would leave her mark on an entire generation of teen kids. Because even despite her scandals later on, Audrey Kitching really was legendary. Who else do you know that has an entire LA Times article about her specific hair color and how to maintain it? Audrey Lynn Kitching was born on July 26, 1985 in Collingswood, New Jersey. She has 3 older brothers and she grew up in Philadelphia. As a kid, she was always very creative and she either wanted to be a hairstylist or an artist. Her career actually started by accident, one of those right place, right time situations. When she was 14, she was at the nail salon with her mom, although some interviews say it was actually at a hair salon, but basically a woman approached her mom asking if Audrey had ever thought of modeling. Thinking this was a scam, her mom didn't even tell Audrey right away about this offer, but eventually she did, and modeling for department stores became Audrey's normal. This was way before the pink hair. She literally just looked like a normal girl in the early 2000s. Before MySpace and BuzzNet, she actually started blogging on websites like Melodrama and LiveJournal. In a 2013 interview with Glassbook, Audrey reflected on this time in her life by saying, "BuzzNet was a really small site when they found me online. They saw my live journal and liked what I was doing. Then they had me come out to California, so I went out and I met with them and they kind of told me that they wanted to do the site being her little corner of BuzzNet, which was audrey.buzznet. And they explained what it was and that they wanted to build it around who I was and what I was doing. Looking back in hindsight, I had no idea what was going on. I had a lot of hardship when I was younger, and the internet was like this online diary. I wasn't aware. That's the best way I can explain it. I wasn't aware of the magnitude of what was happening." In 2005, she left Philly to move to LA. When she first moved to LA, she worked as a hairstylist for Avita. A year later, Audrey dyed her hair that very iconic shade of pink. Lives were changed, literally. As for her hair, Audrey had this to say in 2013. "I remember being 15 years old and at my parents' house looking at this website and there was this girl. I don't even remember who she was, but she had this black and pink hair. It was when the internet had first came out and it was on this site called Melodrama, which was before LiveJournal or any of that. I would read her blog and I just thought, one day I'm gonna have pink hair. So I did it, and now here I am 6, 7, 8 years later and I still have pink hair." This is actually very funny and very ironic because me, myself, also at around 15 years old, wanted pink hair, but this time it was because I was such a fan of Audrey Kitching. I obviously thought her hair was iconic and I really wanted it. So it's just funny that that whole moment for her came full circle, and then she just ended up inspiring an entire generation of girlies who also wanted her pink hair. From 2005 to 2006, she dated Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. After they broke up, Audrey allegedly messaged someone talking shit about Brendan's package, for lack of a better word. Now, I cannot prove that this was actually her, because it could have been somebody catfishing, but I'm kind of inclined to believe that this was her, because before all her URLs and stuff were Audrey Kitching, she went by Twiggy Violence or just Twig on the internet. And as you can see, the username is Twig of Violence. So, I mean, it could be her, but all I know is that allegedly this happened. When she was dating Brendan, Jack Vanek was dating Ryan Ross. So Audrey and Jack just naturally became friends. Here's a compilation of some photos that exist of them in that era. Okay, so timeline-wise, I believe it goes like this. Hannah and Audrey met in around 2005 because they both liked hardcore bands in California, so they'd bond over music, and they met sometime in 2005. Hannah met Jack Vanek, I'm assuming sometime in early 2006? Maybe late 2005, judging by these pictures of the 3 of them and how Audrey doesn't have her famous pink hair yet. By 2007, Hannah Beth officially entered the chat. Photos of Hannah Beth and Audrey were so iconic, and they were definitely considered the it girls of the scene. Everyone wanted to be them. Their friendship had plenty of drama that usually played out via MySpace bulletins, but they did manage to reunite at the 2011 Teen Choice Awards. However, as of 2026, they are definitely not friends anymore. Another notable friendship of Audrey's was with Zooey Suicide. Yeah, I used to call her Zooey because literally I didn't keep up with the chick, so I didn't know that her name is pronounced Zooey. It's supposed to be like Suicidal, I guess. Haha, you're funny. Anyway, so the tea with that is that this chick, Zooey, got pregnant and then had her baby shower, but Audrey didn't show up to her baby shower. In 2007, she interviewed Amy Lee from Evanescence. Essentially, her website was just her MySpace and her BuzzNet profile kind of combined, and it would cross post, and it just essentially looked like her MySpace. Like, you could see her friends, you could see her pictures, you could see the blogs that she would write about every single day of her life. Okay, so based on Lady Gaga's fake tan in this, I think this Wengo Tango interview where Audrey interviews Lady Gaga is actually from 2008. It is giving very much like the fame just came out and she has to do promo. Because that tan was truly a time in Lady Gaga history. In 2009, here she is on the red carpet for the Hannah Montana movie. And essentially, her being on this red carpet is obviously just because it's a red carpet. And one thing about Audrey Kitching is she was going to be on the red carpet. But it's just funny because it's Hannah Montana, and it's like, she was not watching that. So she probably went into this like, I have not seen this show. The first thing I'm ever going to see in regards to this show is the movie. 2009 was truly a time. As MySpace was dying, Audrey wasn't stopping. By 2010, she launched her first clothing line, Coco Decor. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this deep dive, she had always been into fashion, so this was probably such a dream come true for her. The clothes from Coco Decor weren't super unique, especially not for 2010, but it was heavily influenced by the fact it's like, oh, Audrey Kitching made this, I want it. Once again, tying into her built-in fan base from her MySpace days. And then it got like big promotion when Hailey from Paramore was actually seen wearing it in a photo shoot. And this is totally random, but I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. So in a promo video for Coco Decor, we can see Scout Taylor Compton, which obviously makes sense because at the time, you know, Scout was hanging out with that whole circle of people. Yeah, now that I think about it, I'm like, wait, I do remember hearing about Coco Decor from like, there's that video with Scout. Check out the website if you want. I was like, and then I was like, wait, that's Audrey Kitching's line.
So we are here on set of my Tokyo Luxe collection for summer, shooting up in the Hollywood Hills.
She also had another clothing line called Tokyo Luxe, which was later renamed Audrey Kitching Los Angeles. In the fashion world, she was doing well as a model. She told Dazed magazine, I'm short, I have pink hair, I have a very distinct style, I'm not a blank canvas. I'm not the person they'd hire to create an image. I already have an image. Fast forward to 2013 when she launched a jewelry company called Crystal Cactus. Well, it turned out that she didn't actually make anything. Everything was drop shipped from Alibaba and she just slapped her brand name on it. There were also allegations of terrible working conditions, with former employees saying she was emotionally abusive and never actually did any work. Something coming to mind right now is this very specific article from that time period when a former employee did come out and they were like, hey, so actually everyone thinks Audrey does all this work, but you know what she's really doing? She's just on her phone all day and she's in her bed a lot and she is just taking baths. Like, I really remember that article. Because of this, people started calling her Fraudry, which is crazy, but I kind of get it. She stole their money and scammed them. Of course, they're going to be mad. Then she wouldn't even acknowledge that everyone was pissed off. She just essentially disappeared from the internet without issuing any sort of apology. Well, sort of. She's done occasional interviews, but no one has seen her in public since, like, 2013-ish? However, in 2014, she did launch another clothing line called Luna. I don't know how successful that one was, but yeah. Reflecting on her MySpace days, Audrey told Cheads.com in 2015, at the time I was really just a kid running away from myself and trying to figure out where I was going to sleep the next night. I really had no grasp of reality back then. A career was the last thing on my mind. I would get dressed in a Waffle House bathroom after sleeping in a car and then be chased down by girls wanting to take photos with me later that afternoon. It was all a very strange and confusing time. I think it all panned out the way it was supposed to, though, as everything in life does. In 2017, she told Days magazine, "There's people from the MySpace era who are still living in the MySpace era. So of course when I come across these people who only want to see me when I was a homeless 18-year-old touring with bands, they only want to see me as that person. Of course there's people who are not going to want to see a progression and not want to see a change and not want to see evolvement. I don't think internet fame is something people should strive for. I wasn't trying to become internet famous because internet fame didn't exist before. The universe picked a certain handful of us and was like, this thing is going to happen to you. And that's the thing, there was no strategy, there was no branding because I didn't know. It didn't exist. I was literally just documenting my day-to-day life. As much as I'm talking against this stuff, the internet has always been my canvas and now I just want to create art but on my own terms." Her social media presence is pretty non-existent in 2026, but people have seen her in New Jersey. So it's assumed that she's living back in Jersey. Her last photo shoot was posted 10 years ago and it's still the image they have on her Wikipedia. Fun fact, besides the millionaires, Audrey is the only scene queen who has a Wikipedia. So yeah, this has been the deep dive on Audrey Kitching.